And welcome back. The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted life for many facets of society. However, people of different ages are experiencing in different effects as well as different kinds of ways. The Thinkubator has conducted a study on the impact COVID-19 has actually had on youth in the Bronx. The pandemic has impacted youths in different arenas such as education, employment, as well as mental health. Here to share a little bit more about the survey and the results is the director of the think tank at the Thinkubator, Dr. Lessie Branch, and also the apprentice at the Thinkubator, James Waldron. And Dr. Lessie and James, good to have you.
Nice to be with you. Thank you for having us.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Well, I mean, a lot of times when we talk about Dr. Leslie, COVID-19, it always goes to the most vulnerable population. It talks about definitely people, communities of color. And I think many times that what we have not talked about was that of youth. But I know that you guys have been front and center taking a look at how youth have been impacted. So give us a little bit about the impetus behind why you conducted this survey.
My perspective as a policy scholar who focuses on issues of racial disparity, I think that it is so important to include the voices from their lived perspective of communities that are marginalized and typically don't have a platform from which to speak about things that are impacting them. And so there's usually an ascendant narrative that is put out about those communities. And so the think tank seeks to work with Bronx youth and other Bronx constituencies to create narratives to put out policy briefs about issues that are affecting them from their lived experience. And so in conjunction with the Thinkubator, most of their programming focuses on and around youth. And so the apprentice at the Thinkubator, James, has created the survey, administered it, and has analyzed the results. And so, I definitely would like for him to speak about the results of the study that he designed.
Yeah. And James, I'll bring you in right now that you might be able to share a little bit about the survey. Talk to me about the survey and what exactly were you trying to capture?
So I was really trying to capture how COVID-19 has affected every aspect of students and people around my age's lifestyle at the moment. So we've all know that COVID-19 has an unprecedented impact on the Bronx youth and families. And currently, unemployment rates are under 25%, and the survey results reveal that 94 of the percent of the youth would like to work while attending school at the moment because a lot of our youth are having trouble getting everyday necessities like toilet paper and diapers and food and water. So right now, the whole the whole reason for the COVID-19 survey was just like it was to really point out those facts and to show people like how what like the youth really need people to help support them at this time.
Mhm. And talking about when you got the results back, when you talk about 94% of youth would like to work and also, do what they do. Talk to me, was any of these results surprising to you?
um no, none of these results were surprising to me because I'm a youth myself, and I am also going through the same things that a lot of these students are going through when it comes to like education and like having to get supplies and the different things that are affecting us at this time. A lot of our students right now, like 35% of our students at the moment, are currently doing hybrid format of school, which is what I'm also doing. And a lot of people have had a lot of trouble adjusting to this new online learning, and having difficulties connecting, or having difficulties finding ways to really make time and fit it in the schedule of this new way of learning.
Great work. I want to talk to Dr. Leslie about this because as we see these statistics come out, obviously a lot of great concern. Talk to me about people such as James, young people who definitely are making their voices heard. With a survey like this, where do you go from here?
So, that's a great segue And so the implication for youth needing and or wanting to work is quite interesting and should be spotlighted for several reasons. And so the need or the want to work while attending school arises, from an already precarious and a COVID-19 accelerated unemployment experience in the Bronx, right? And so surveyed youth in James's survey, they want to help support their families while they're attending school. And slightly more than a third of the surveyed respondents, as James pointed out, indicated that somebody in their household lost their job, which correlates with the increase of unemployment rate in the Bronx. And so, slightly more than a quarter of the respondents indicated that someone in their family was either sick or died from COVID. And so, the ascendant narrative in this country is failing those who act responsibly in the persons of our young people, right? And so, dominant narratives also serve as policy foundations and prescriptions. And so, the policies directed at marginalized groups emphasize austerity and they try to change behavior while ignoring the structural barriers that are faced by these folks. And so the paradox here is that the respondents in our survey are acting personally responsible, right? And so what more is it that you want these young people to do, right? Their education is at the fore. It is important to them, but they are also acting in responsible ways to help their family in economic crises. And so youth such as James and those who've responded to the survey are getting to tell their story in their own voice and from their lived perspective. Right. And so what can people do? What should people do? Well, as James eloquently pointed out, it is important to provide resources to organizations such as the Thinkubator and other organizations that are helping youth in these very trying and dire times. Um, I don't know of any other socioeconomic group where youth have to focus on trying to go to school and help their family out economically. And that, those qualities are very admirable and they speak to a maturity and certainly they speak to responsibility. And I applaud James and his colleagues who, have stepped up to try to manage during these very trying times.
Yeah, well, definitely the light has been shined, and of course, we're going to continue to keep this conversation going. Got to bring you back so that we can talk a little bit more about this and how do we navigate this and how do we also help, possibly be an advocate and an ally to making sure that youth get the necessary resources that they need. James, I want to thank you for your time sharing and great work on the survey. And then also, Dr. Leslie, thank you for being with us as well.
It was certainly our pleasure, Darren. Thank you.
Certainly. Well, listen, we want you to stay connected and we want to take a quick break. We do have more shows, so don't go anywhere. Open will return right after this.